So now that we understand the basic concepts behind Webpack, let's take a look at the configuration file and how we can set this up from scratch. To start off with, we're still going to need to install save dev Webpack. So go ahead and run that command. We're also going to need Babel, but this time instead of Babel CLI, which we used through that command line interface, even if it was indirectly through package.json, it was still a command line interface. Instead, we're going to do Babel loader, which Webpack works with the concept of loaders and plugins. Babel loader is a Webpack consumable version of Babel. So we're going to do Babel loader so Webpack can use it instead of Babel CLI. You're also still going to need to install the presets. The good news is there's no Webpack specific version of those presets. The normal presets will work just fine. So Babel preset ES 2016 and install React as well. And if this were our full-on project, we'd also probably want to install React and React DOM as well. So once you get all those installed, open up your package.json. And this time, instead of our build command being poking at Babel directly, it's going to run Webpack. Even though Webpack isn't on your path right now, Webpack is inside of this node modules. And when you run npm tasks through npm, it puts that on your path. Additionally, in order for Webpack to do its thing, we're going to have this file called webpack.config.js. Many of these Webpack configuration options you can put as command line flags back inside the package.json. It's a little bit a matter of taste whether you include those here or in a Webpack config. Most people choose to put them inside a Webpack config. Also notice that the Webpack config is a .js file. So you can use full-on JavaScript to configure your Webpack. It's not JSON, it's not a configuration language, it is actual JavaScript. And additionally, you can still use .babelrc for your Babel parts, but you can also just put that as a section of your Webpack config, which we're going to see in a moment. So this is just regular old Node code. Notice we're using the require that we looked at from our peek at common.js. One other note is since this is Node running on the Node command and not browser stuff, we're going to use Node's native common.js and not use any sort of ES6 module syntax because currently when writing Node, it's still proper to use common.js syntax and not ES6 module syntax like it is with React. All right, we're going to say var webpack equals require webpack. That's going to bring the Webpack dependency. We're also going to bring in path, which is just a Node standard library utility for working with paths. And kind of a best practice, we're going to create these constants up here to specify our build directory and our app directory. Our app directory is where we're going to read in our code from, and it's in dir name, which is just a little alias to our current directory. The reason we're using dir name instead of relative path is because dir name will point to the directory that this file is in, not to your actual current directory. So no matter where we run these commands from, it will look at the proper spot. App is where we're going to write our code, and build is where we're going to build it to. Build is kind of just like the directory we used before, just a little bit different name. It doesn't really matter which one you use, just make sure they line up there. Apps containing a bunch of different files in here. And build is where we're going to write our bundle.js to. So then what we're going to expect is we're going to have this configuration object, which is kind of like our Babel RC JSON. And then we're just going to export that as a top-level export from this file so Webpack can consume it. We need to specify the entry point, which is the root. Now, the entry point has to be a singular file because every application will have one file from which that file you can build the entire app's dependency graph. So we're going to go ahead and point at there. Then we're going to specify an output. The path for it is we want to put it in the build dir. We don't want to just dump in the current directory. Call it bundle.js. You can call it whatever you want. And this little public path thing here isn't so relevant right now, but later on, when we serve this through Webpack dev server, that public path is going to be where this Webpack dev server serves it up from. So that way it's not under, /build/ we just get it on / from our local host. This is just specifying where our entry and outputs are. Here's where we're going to specify our transformations. So we have a loader section right here. Currently, we only have the Babel loader, so that's why there's just one object in here. If you desire, you can bring in other loaders as well. And the first part for this loader is we're going to say that the loader type is Babel. It's going to include everything in our app dir, which if you recall is right up here, that little /app right here. And then there's this little test part. So what test is doing is it's not saying that, oh, we're going to run tests here. It's some sort of test that it's going to run against the file names to determine if they should be included. because if you run tests like this, it's going to selectively choose them. So we're saying here, we put a little regex that's saying any file that ends with JS and then optionally an X, the little question mark thing is a regex pattern, saying that it can include the X or it cannot include the X. Either way is fine, but it must have JS beforehand. So we want all of our .js and our .jsx files. And then this little query presets thing right here, this is just inlining our Babel RC configuration into our Webpack file, so that way we don't have to maintain two separate files. Some people like to have a Webpack config and a Babel RC. It's a little bit of a matter of taste. I just went ahead and put it in here. Then what we're gonna do is, like in the last section, npm run build, Webpack's going to be invoked. Again, Webpack is loading Babel. Babel is applying the ES6 transformations and the React transformations, and Webpack is what's bundling all of our different JavaScripts into one concatenated file. Then take a look in builds, and we have the nice little bundle.js file right here. So this current setup is okay. It can work for development or production, but there are little tweaks we can make to make it better for both development and for production. Something that could be desirable for development is, hot reloading, page refreshes, syncing it so that as we change files, it will automatically update the bundle. And something we can want for production is minification and things such as that. So we're going to look next in how to tweak this a little bit into setups that are more optimized for a particular use case, be that development or production.